shock after shock at this refusal to even file a process. If indeed the Speaker of Parliament himself recognized that the matter raised serious legal issues, as he said to the media last week, where else would you address legal issues but in the court of law? Where else would you have such a definitive pronouncement on the so-called serious legal issues that the Speaker himself recognized in his press statement, done by the Supreme Court of Ghana? So as far as the Speaker of Parliament, indeed, is law-abiding, I've known him for a very long time, to comply with the decision of the Supreme Court. As I said, it is non-negotiable in every civilized society. When an order of the court is given, no matter how highly placed or lowly placed the court is, even if it's a magistrate's court, you have to obey until it is set aside.
Have you seen the conclusion of this matter? Would you say, as an Attorney General, that there's a need for a constitutional review?
What does it relate to this? The American Constitution itself, very thin, as we all know. Yet, the Supreme Court, that Constitution has survived over 200 years. I think that, of course, there are certain provisions in the Constitution that I think that ought to be amended, and I've expressed my views on it to the media. Article 78, Clause 1, which enjoins the President to appoint majority of his ministers from Parliament, ought to be amended. There ought to be that flexibility. I think that certain institutions, for example, the Electoral Commission, NCC, and what have you, the appointment of their heads has to be with the prior approval of Parliament. But I don't think that it calls for a complete overhaul of the Constitution. And indeed, this Constitution is very strong. And it is one Constitution which even goes as far as prescribing consequences of a failure to carry out the Supreme Court order. So the Supreme Court order, the consequences are set out clearly in Article 2, Clauses 3, 4, and 5 of the Constitution, that any person to whom an order of the Supreme Court is directed shall duly carry out same. And a failure to carry out such an order, of course, has the consequences of a criminal punishment. In the case of the President, will even result in the President and Vice President will result in removal from office.
And finally, do you expect the Speaker of Parliament to report Parliament on his own volition after this ruling, given that the court has spoken in such a manner?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as I said, it's an emphatic determination by the court on the matter, and the Speaker of Parliament has no option but to comply. I mean, I think that we must stop giving with one hand and taking with the other. As I said, it really amounts to double standards and an exercise in contradiction for the Speaker of Parliament in his address to the media say that the case raises such serious legal issues and matters bordering on governance and all that, and then refuse to take back. So this country refuse to take part in the proceedings. I think in this country we must recognize some people for who they are and what they do. This hypocrisy and double standards must cease. The Supreme Court is the final arbiter on all matters in the country, including an interpretation of the Constitution. Indeed, it's the only court solely seeks registration to pronounce on the meaning of relevant provisions of the Constitution. And the Constitution means what the Supreme Court says it means, and nothing more. It is the same in America, and as I said, America, United Kingdom, and all advanced democracies, that is the order that they respect. There's no way a Supreme Court would give a decision in America or United Kingdom, and then the Prime Minister, apart from expressing his disagreement with the decision on the President of America, of course, he has a freedom of expression to express his disagreement with the decision, but he has no option but to comply, and they usually comply, and that is it.
Attorney General, many have said that this
So I think that if there's indeed a rule of law, an element of it is predictability. It's not a case where a court of law will rule this way on account of the same principle of law, but rule another way on account of the same principle. So indeed there must be some element of predictability. And I'm saying that in these principles that we contended with in this matter are old principles. There's nothing new. And for those who are saying the court is acting a certain way and all that, the same people were those who were rejoicing when the Court of Appeal gave a decision acquitting their leader. Their leader was acquitted by the Court of Appeal. They were happy with it. And to date, he's able to make all those arguments in Parliament because he has been acquitted. And I did not raise any issue with that, but to appeal. I did not say I'm not going to respect the decision of the court. I respect the decision of the court, and until the decision is set aside by a higher court, which is the Supreme Court, that decision will remain binding on all. So we must stop this hypocrisy and exercises in contradiction. As I said, that when our reaction or attitude to court rulings depends on how palatable we deem it. We cannot react to decisions based on how palatable we deem it, and that's exactly what is happening. Thank you very much.
Well, so that is the judgment of the Supreme Court, and by decision to 5-2, that decision has been made, upholding Afenyo marking the majority leader's position that the Speaker erred in making that announcement before the chamber or in the Chamber of Parliament. Now, Afenyo marking the majority leader.
You accept that he's not
No, I just want us to have clarity for the purposes of education. What is your position now? I want to know. What has the court said? That what? No, yes, we are educating ourselves. You know, I want that we are educating us. We are not fighting. We are educating ourselves. So I want to know from you.
He doesn't want to respond.
No.
Go on with
We need to get
you can't detain us here.
So what is it? I want to know. That's what? That is so. I mean, I just wanted clarity on this matter. We can only thank God, and also it's a moment for all of us to rally around the choice we made in 1992, democracy. Democracy requires decency, and that is the path the MPP majority caucus took to ensure that we do right to the law. Nothing more, except to say that we expect our colleagues on the other side, including Mr. Speaker, to respect the outcome of this case so that we move on as a nation. All we have is the peace of the country. All we have is our democracy. And in West Africa and in Africa as a whole, Ghana shines in the eyes of the people in terms of democracy. So this is another feat we have achieved, and we must celebrate it. It's not a matter of MPP against NDC. It's a matter of constitutional, interpretation, and the court has given its verdict. We should all respect it and move on. Thank you very much. I think on the
You expect the Speaker to report Parliament?
let the lawyers deal with the issues of law. I think that all we want is peace in the country, and we chose peace. And today we've achieved peace. That is all we
The
say.
Speaker has no choice. He has to abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court. He has no choice. He has no choice. Absolutely no choice.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is for him.
Please. The
Supreme Court is spoken.
The interesting thing about this matter is that as far back as 1968, after the first Republican Constitution, we decided as a nation, which can be seen by the proposals of the Constituent Assembly, that two things will happen. The first thing that we decided was that we will have the judiciary interpret the Constitution. In fact, they said two things. They wanted the judiciary to be the ultimate arbiter of what the Constitution says, and they also wanted the judiciary to be able to give advisory opinions. The people of Ghana rejected the second suggestion and said that the judiciary should not give advisory opinions, but the judiciary is the body that should interpret the Constitution. The second thing that is important in that entire the 1968 proposals was that they decided that Parliament will not be supreme. The supremacy of Parliament was not accepted. What they decided was that Parliament will be under the Constitution, and so all our constitutions since then have followed this position. In fact, the 1992 Constitution in Article 1 says that sovereignty lies in the people. That sovereignty was expressed when the people, through a referendum, voted to bring this constitution into force. And the constitution tells us that the supreme law of Ghana is the constitution. Everybody else is under the constitution. Nobody is above anybody. Everybody has his role. And so the fact that the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution does not mean that they are above anybody. In fact, there are judges sitting on the bench. One of them is my classmate. My juniors are on the bench. But once they go and sit there, even if it's my own child sitting there, I cannot but bow and give the person respect, not for the person, but for the office and for the law. And we expect every other Ghanaian to also respect the law. We don't all agree on what is said and what is done. There are several times that I've disagreed with what is said and what is done. But because of the respect for the rule of law, because of the respect for the Constitution, we just keep quiet and follow the law, hoping that if we don't agree, another opportunity will come that we'll be able to express ourselves. So what has happened today, we have not seen the reasons. We are happy because we came to court because we believed that the right thing was that the people had not by their action vacated their seats. So what has happened to them, we are happy about it. Tomorrow, the reasons will come out. And when the reasons come out, as lawyers, then we can look at the reasons and what the court has said, and then we can discuss it. In fact, the fact that the court has ruled in your favor does not mean that you agree with the reasons. You might decide that even the reasons some of the judges gave, you do not agree with it. Two of the judges talked about jurisdiction. We don't know what they said, so tomorrow we will know. And when we know, we'll prepare to answer more questions in detail. But as was said by the leader, as far as I'm concerned, today democracy has won, constitutionalism has won.
And Babi has lost.
No, nobody has lost. Democracy has won, constitutionalism has won, and nobody has lost. Every one of us is holding every position that we hold in trust for the people of Ghana. We don't hold it in our own capacity. When you are an MP, when you are a minister, when you are a president, when you are a speaker, when you are a chief justice, you hold it in trust for the people of Ghana, and you are under the law. Your time will come and you leave the position, and that is what we must all write. So the 4 MPs have been reinstated. They must come to Parliament, and as far as I'm concerned, if the status quo ante is brought back, then this whole dispute that people call him caucus leader, whatever, it should stop from today. We have a majority, which is MPP, and the majority leader is Honorable Alexander Afeyo Maki. These are simple as leader. There's no, how can I, madam? We've come from court. You want me to give you a constitutional lecture?
Okay, we'll take our group photograph.
So what we'll do is that we'll talk about that, please.
So you heard the lead counsel for Majority Leader Afenyo Makin speaking on the judgments of the Supreme Court. Essentially, it says that democracy and constitutionality has won the day, and so basically both the Attorney General and then the lawyers of the Majority Leader are expecting Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin to recall Parliament as a matter of urgency, so business of the day can proceed.
Babi has lost.
We have won to save Ghana. We have won to save Ghana. The elephant is the winning symbol. We have won to save Ghana.
The majority leader.
Elvis.
The majority leader. The majority leader. The majority leader. Rule of law has won.
And that breaking news we're bringing to you by decision of 5-2, with 2 dissenting in that empaneled of judges by the Supreme Court, of course led by the Chief Justice herself, Justice Tokunu, and then upholding that decision of the Majority Leader of Parliament, Afenyo Makin, in that suit that was brought before the Supreme Court. And just substantively, that controversial issue at the time, now settled by the Supreme Court, just giving you an insight currently of Article 97, which it stated, or still states in that Constitution, Article 97(1), reading that a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament, and the controversial subsequent clauses in there being G and H, that if a member of parliament leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to parliament to join another party or seeking to remain in that parliament as independent member, or subsequently in age, if he was elected a member of parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party subsequent to this ruling, has not made that decision to vacate his seat, meaning that person could remain to be in parliament unless otherwise indicated following this ruling by the Supreme Court. What it means is that subsequently the Speaker would have to abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court and then the provisions per that interpretation that has been given by the Supreme Court in today's judgment. And subsequently we'll get to see what will transpire or will happen in Parliament when they reconvene. In the meantime, you can go to 3news.com, get the latest update for the ruling that has been made today or the judgment, and then subsequently also when it comes to Election 360, we'll bring you the latest update on this, and then also get to hear from the various stakeholders, particularly the constitutional lawyers on this very subject. And then also we'll get to know who made that decision, whether the judges who were dissenting, among others. So for those empaneled judges for the judgment today, we had the majority for this ruling, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, and then Justice of the Supreme Court, Mariama Owusu Yao Asari-Darko, Samuel Isiedu, Justice Ernest Gau, all in the majority, and then also those dissenting or those with a dissenting opinion, Justices Lovelace Johnson and then Amadou Tanko. We'll get to know the reasons adduced for them dissenting as well as for the majority for that judgment today. But in the meantime, let's go back to the forecourt of the Supreme Court and then get more insights.
I do not even remember that particular ruling. I've made the point many, many times. At that time, we had about 169 or so members on our side. Nobody recalls that. Not question of not caring. I don't even remember. It is until this matter came up that the issue came up. And consistently, I've said that we're fine. He may have so he was wrong. He was wrong. But the matter didn't get the opportunity of surfacing in the Supreme Court. Now it has. There was this matter in one of these judgments, and I think Mr. Justice, I think Francois, in one of the famous cases, he said that, well, look, everybody is saying that this was wrong, this was wrong, it has been perpetuated, and nobody said anything, and so that remains the law. It is not. All right, there was there's an error, there was illegality, it has been perpetuated. Now somebody's raised their hand. The hand is up now. Nobody can force the hands down. It's what?
The very people who aided or who
don't keep on saying aiding. We didn't aid.
What on Michael K to come out with that?
He may have been made. I don't recall. We did that happen so many years. You don't recall everything. A lot of us refer to the book. I am saying that yes, he may have ruled the way you people have been telling us. We'll go back to Hansard. Yes, he's so rude. We are saying that he was wrong, except that it was not taken up in the Supreme Court. It has now been taken up in the Supreme Court. What's the point?
On the day the Speaker adjourned,
yes,
we saw some actions with some.
Afegi was pushing Afegi,
and you have filed a police complaint.
Yes, I have filed. I've filed. We are human beings in that Parliament. We are human beings. We exhibit human instincts. We are not animals, and we don't exhibit animalistic instincts. I do not understand why on the matter where my colleagues are discussing, and I wasn't actually talking to the particular Afegi man. I was talking to my nephew at forcing the minority leader. I was saying to him, Ato, it is your responsibility to make sure in the circumstance of this case, the Speaker of the House abides by the ruling of the Supreme Court. So talk to him. I mean, show leadership. That's the person I was talking to. This man came out of nowhere and started pushing me. You guys have seen the pictures, the videos, pushing. I kept shouting, "You can't push me like that! What is your business? Why are you doing it?" He pushed me about 5 times. What do you think you're doing? I have a complaint. Yes, I've started a complaint.
There are times where colleague MPs are...
It's a small colleague. We are not animals in there. Yes, any more questions?
So you heard Trade Minister Katie Hammond.
And so, that he comes so that we sit together.
Well, so the reaction so far, the Supreme Court, by a decision of a majority of 5-2 with 2 dissenting, ruling that the Speaker's declaration, that's Abang Bagman's declaration of 4 seats as vacant, in that ruling before the Chamber of Parliament, or in the Chamber of Parliament about 2 or 3 weeks ago, as unconstitutional. And we know that by this ruling, it also means that, well, those seats are not vacant. And then also going by that constitutional article, Article 97(1), which indicates in the contentious clauses G and H that a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament in reference to G if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to Parliament to join another party, or seeks to remain in Parliament as an independent member, and subsequently in H, if he was elected a member of Parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party, by this ruling has not vacated his seat by that action. And so we know that there are 4 individuals who are part, or who has squarely been caught up in this, and subsequently they are the current member of Parliament for Suhum, Mr. Ejapong, and then also Mamle Morrison of the Gomoit constituency, and subsequently also the Fomena member of Parliament who was elected into the 8th Parliament as an independent member of Parliament, is now standing for the Fomena seat on behalf of the MPP as a parliamentary candidate, and then also an independent member of an independent candidate who currently is a member of Parliament who was elected into this Parliament on the ticket of the NDC for Amenfi Central. What it does mean is that the Speaker's ruling is unconstitutional, and this specifically is in reference to Article 97(1), and specifically G and H being the clauses in there. And again, let me just apprise all of us of what this says. It says, a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament, and in G, if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to Parliament to join another party, or seeks to remain in Parliament as an independent member, or in H, if he was elected a member of Parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party. So by the actions they've taken so far, those 4 members of Parliament have not vacated their seat, in reference to the decision that was made by the Speaker, which per this judgment by the Supreme Court is said to be unconstitutional, and then also in reference to Article 97, 1, G and H of the Constitution of the 1992 Republic of Ghana, have not vacated their seats. What it does mean is that they will remain in Parliament till the term ends for this 8th Parliament, but they will continue to contest the next election, which will be on December 7, 2024, as independent candidates, while staying to be remaining as members of Parliament on the ticket of their various political parties, or as members of Parliament candidates on behalf of their parties while they remain in parliament as independent members of parliament. And so those are the ramifications. In the meantime, you can get the latest update when it comes to this on 3news.com, as well as across our socials, TV3 Ghana, and get those latest updates. But in the meantime, we'll continue the show right here in the studio.